Good Mom and Monday. You're here with the Mistaken Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandee.
And we are your hosts. This week, we're going to be talking about our first home births. And, well, I guess both of mine.
Yes.
So all of the home births and the comparisons for them.
Yeah. Let's start with our wins and fails.
Yes.
You go
first. I can go first if you want.
I have a fail. I just can't think of a win.
Oh, I'll go first then.
Okay.
Okay. So my mom failed with it's not really my fault.
Mm-hmm.
So this past Saturday, I was in a lot of pain, so I didn't do anything like all day long. I was supposed to edit and I didn't.
It's okay.
But I was just in pain. I was trying to figure out like what the heck was wrong. I genuinely thought it was just like gas and it would just pass. And it had been kind of going on for like 4 days or so, but it was way bad on Saturday. So I called the nurse line and they were like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. Like right now, don't delay. Yeah. We're going to let them know you're on your way.
Oh, jeez.
And so I did. And they had the record and they were like, okay, well, we're really backed up. So
because of course they are.
Yeah. I was at the hospital for 12 hours.
Yeah. A long time.
So long. I went there at like 6:45.
Yeah.
And I left.
You texted me at 7 a.m.
Yeah. We left around 6:20.
Okay.
I think. So almost exactly 12 hours. It was ridiculous. I didn't get called back to actually get into a room until after midnight. And then... But they had me do like testing during like the time when I was waiting in the waiting room because they were so backed up.
It was
so
urgent,
they were having the nurses order tests and stuff during triage.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they were trying.
Yep. So I got my blood taken, got my pee taken, got a CAT scan, got an X-ray, and everything got sorted out. So.
That's wild.
Yeah. But then they, sorry if you can hear Quincy and Ellie.
Yeah.
And they discovered that I had I'm probably going to say this wrong, so you might know how to pronounce this better than I do. Omental infarction.
Yeah.
Yep.
You said it pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Basically, death of the tissue in your abdomen, right?
Yeah.
Lining, your abdominal lining.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. But then they found out that I have an enlarged thyroid gland, so...
Didn't we kind of know that?
It's never been large before, so that's a new development.
Oh, okay.
Because I have Hashimoto's.
Right.
And it's never been large before. It's always been fine. So now I have to get an ultrasound for my thyroid gland, so that's fun. And yeah, all right.
Fun.
My win, though, is, so a few days before all this bullshit, I was having some like really bad body image issues, and like my jeans, I couldn't get them to close, and I was really, really upset, and I like cried in the bathroom with Thomas, and he gave me a big old hug, and he was like, let's go shopping today.
Aww.
So we got like 4 pairs of jeans and some new shirts, and I feel so much better in them.
Nice.
It's kind of one of those things that, like, you know, I didn't want to go up a size, but I feel better now that I am in a size. I'm wearing jeans and a shirt from that today.
I saw the jeans. I didn't really see the shirt, but the jeans are really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah. That always makes you feel good.
It does.
I feel like it sucks because there's such like a stereotype in your head that you're going up a size, so you just feel so much worse. But then once you finally are in clothes that fit your body, you're like, oh, I don't feel so bad about myself now.
Exactly. Oh, and one thing that I thought was interesting, so while I was trying on jeans, I was trying on jeans ranging, and all of them would close. Okay.
Okay.
That's important.
Okay.
0 to 10.
That's such a range.
Yeah. In different brands. Yeah.
Weird.
Levi's, I'm like a 2.
Interesting.
And then in like Old Navy's, whatever their brand is, I'm an 8 or a 10.
Interesting.
I thought that was real bizarre. Because I was
really
like,
weird.
Because a lot of people would like in, you know, the mid-range and plus size community would look at me and be like, honey, you're not
Yeah.
You're in the low side of standard, and then
Right.
I'm looking at myself being in a 10 and I'm confused.
Right. Yeah. Because I think in Old Navy jeans, I can't remember. I think I want to say I'm a 14 in Old Navy jeans. And I wouldn't think that you're that close
Right?
up there with me.
That's the part that I'm confused about.
Interesting.
Yeah, so 0 to 10. In different brands, I was in vastly different sizes. So I have no clue what number jean size I technically am.
Weird.
I'm a solid 5.
There you go. Right in the middle. That's always hard for me. Like when Michael's like, I want to buy you clothes for Christmas or your birthday. I'm
What
like,
size are you?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, if you get this brand, I'm this size. You get this brand. And he's like, maybe I won't get you clothes. I'll get you a gift card instead.
Yep. I can be pretty confident in shirts.
Right.
Because shirts, I mean, except for the fact that I was trying on smalls and mediums and stuff. Mm-hmm. Typically I go for like mediums because I have big boobs, but I have like a generally small frame.
Yeah.
And they looked the exact same. Pretty much just overall, I just feel a lot better with the new clothes and the overall things. I try not to have body image issues, and I try to teach my kids not to. Like, I don't like to talk about it in front of my kids because I don't want them to develop body image issues because their mom has some,
right?
You know, so I try not to talk about it, and I try to always talk very positively, but sometimes it just gets you when you look at that scale and you gain another pound and now your jeans won't fit.
Yeah. Well, and it sucks because you and I have talked about this, how after we've had kids, we have felt better about our bodies. Just, you feel more empowered about your own skin. And so I think then when we still have those moments of like, I'm not liking the way I feel, I'm not liking the way I look, it's almost worse. At least for me it is. Because I'm like, no, I've felt better about my body now. Why am I going back to this, you know? Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, if you had told me at 16 years old that I would weigh what I do now, I would be horrified.
Right. Oh, same.
Horrified. Like, I wanted to cry when I reached like 105. I was a very, very tiny girl.
Yeah.
And so now that I feel better at this weight and that like the looks my husband gives me, the way he's like, you got a booty now.
Yeah.
Because I used to be bony butt Kaylee.
Right.
No booty at all.
Skinny mini.
It's very, yeah. That was literally, everybody called me skinny mini.
Yeah.
And so I feel better. And now that I actually have clothes that fit and that actually look good, I feel really good.
You're more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
So that's my mom win. It started as a fail and kind of adapted itself into a win. And now I feel really good. And now I'm really happy. I threw out like half my closet.
Hey, that always feels good.
Yeah. I was like,
just
fuck
fresh.
This stuff. Like, I'm not happy in hardly any of these things. So off you go. And I kept a handful of things.
Nice. That's okay. That could be my win. I cleaned out the kids' closet.
Hey.
Got rid of all the clothes that don't fit them anymore.
That's good. That's
and
good. That's always
shopping.
hard.
Yeah, I went shopping for her because she is growing way too fast.
Please don't tell me she's in the next size up already.
She's in 9 months.
I thought you were going to say 12 and I was going to cry.
So I bought a bunch of 9-month clothes and 12-month clothes because we're getting there.
That is so weird that they are the same size and several months apart. That makes me laugh.
Yeah. Everything's still kind of long in the arms or the torso, but lengthwise, she needs the bigger size. Wow. That was powerful.
Sorry. There's a lot of saliva in my mouth when I did that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I guess I'll leave that as my win. My fail, though. So we were making cookies a little while ago. I think it was sometime last week. And
the cookies that you and I were sharing?
We made another batch after that.
Can I have one?
I don't have any. Here's why.
Okay.
So I was in the shower and totally forgot that I was making cookies. So I had already taken one pan out. That was done. Perfect. Put the other pan in. For some reason, forgot. Was like, I'm going to go take a shower. So I went and took a shower. And Maverick's like banging on the door. And so I'm like, hurrying, get done, open the door. And I'm like, what's going on? And I hear the beeps. And he's like, Mom, luths. Because he calls them luths. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, I don't know how long these have been beeping. So I wrap a towel around me really fast. And I'm running to the kitchen. I open it. The cookies are burnt.
No.
Yeah.
Like burned, or like couldn't scrape. Oh man.
Burned. So yeah, they were burnt, like
Okay.
hockey pucks hard, like tap tap.
Oh no.
Yeah. And that's not where the fail ends.
Oh no.
Because I ran to the cookies and just wrapped the towel around me, water got all over the floor. And so then Maverick ran and slid and hit his ear on the corner of the door jamb. I didn't know that the top of your ear could bruise.
Oh.
But it's like black and blue.
Oh.
Yeah, it's starting to heal now, but it was like black and blue.
Oh.
And I was like, great. Burnt the cookies, water on the floor, sun slipped. What's happening?
Did I ever tell you about the time that Thomas burnt a pan of brownies because he left them in there all night?
No.
All night.
Oh my gosh.
All night.
Those had to be like shriveled up little turds.
They were. I could take the entire pan. I could, if I find it, I'll put the picture here. But I could like take it out of the pan and like hold it, and I like smacked it against the counter, and it did not break. It was hard as a rock.
That's funny.
It was so funny.
Was he so disappointed?
Yeah. Because so when I was a teenager, I used to go over there on the weekends because he had his own apartment.
Oh, right.
Because he had his own apartment. And he was baking brownies so that we could have just normal brownies. Okay.
Fun brownie. I'm just kidding.
Just normal brownies. But he was baking some so that we could have some, to munch on. Because we always made either like cookies or brownies or something to have fun. And we would always have like steak. And so some for us to just have while I was over there. And he fell asleep took a nap, I think, and ended up falling like asleep. And I don't know if it caught on fire in the oven or not, but I would imagine that was a very strong possibility and that it just worked itself out.
That's a little scary.
But I mean, like, I feel like there's no way that couldn't have caught on fire. So homebirths, we've done that.
Anyway.
Okay. There were about 4 appointments left, and we got past the telehealth thing. Mm-hmm. Because it was telehealth because of it being in 2020. And so the last 4 appointments were in person.
Okay.
And so that was when I finally started bonding with them. But that's when the last 4 appointments that I had with them. Mm-hmm. That's all I really got. I got the first couple. But then COVID shut everything down and all that fun stuff. And so I didn't see them until I was heavy pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And when I was meeting with them for the first time, I was letting them know that hey, I might go a little bit earlier. just because I have previously. So I want to make sure that we are prepared for that as we get closer. And so when we got to the stage of when I was seeing them in person again, we were talking a lot about like, okay, when do we want to start like making sure that we're prepared? Because a lot of time they'd be like, around 38 weeks is when we start talking a lot about, whatever that, all that stuff. And so they were like, let's just preemptively start talking about this stuff sooner. So we did. So a lot of stuff that would typically happen like 38 weeks and stuff we did like at 36 and whatever else. So we kind of sped up that process. Yeah. Good thing we did.
Right.
Because my very last appointment with them was I think my 36th week, because I didn't make it to my 38. Oh. I think my 38-week appointment was supposed to be on the day I had him.
And did they do any home appointments with you?
No.
Okay, so it was just the telehealth, then you went there, and then you had him.
I drove from where I lived up to Tacoma.
Got you.
Yep, because they were in Tacoma. And I remember when I was like, I think my water broke. Let me tell that story because that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
So I had been having some contractions for like a couple weeks, but they were like not consistent or whatever. I was like bouncing on balls and stuff. And bouncing on a yoga ball and going on walks and stuff, just trying to get some stuff, moved along if it was going to move along. And this was going to be my first home birth since my first was in a birth center. And we had planned for a water birth. And we decided to purchase one for ourselves. And so we had one at home ready to go. And we didn't get to use it. Let me explain why. I got up to go to the bathroom around 5 a.m. or so. As soon as I sat down on the toilet, like ass cheeks to porcelain, just gush water. And I remember sitting there and being like, did I just pee?
Wasn't it in the middle of the night too?
Like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And so I was like thinking, trying to feel how I felt. Because like, you know what it feels like when you need to pee.
Right.
And I was like, let me see if I can pee. So I ended up texting my midwives and I was like, hey, I'm like 99% positive that my water just broke. And they're like, okay, what did you do? And I was like, I sat on the toilet, ass to porcelain, gone, gushed. And they were like, okay, yeah. Do you have any contractions? No.
Right.
I had none. Not a one. I had like those minor ones from before.
Right.
Those stopped.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So nothing. Gone, poof.
Interesting.
Zilch.
Okay.
And they were like, okay, well, why don't you just like go back to sleep and we will, continue this later. And just, if your contractions start up more than whatever, you're on now on the clock. Because once your water breaks, you are on a clock.
Right.
Which sucks.
I know.
It sucks. And so I ended up trying to go back to bed. And every time I would lay down, I would get some contractions. But they were like nothing major, nothing consistent. And then so eventually when we like woke up and stuff, I would be like bouncing on a ball and I would try to do like the nipple stimulation stuff, just trying to get it going because I was getting really frustrated.
Right.
That the contractions would be consistent for like an hour and then they would stop. And it would like get pretty close and like kind of hurt and then it would just stop.
Ugh.
And they were like, those are just not, unfortunately, they're not real contractions because real contractions don't just stop as soon as you stop stimulating them to come.
Yeah.
They're like, because you doing the nipple stimulation, that's not considered, if they don't stay when you stop, then it's not
the real thing.
Nope.
Unfortunately.
Which sucked. And so I spent that entire day, and I was 38 weeks in one day. So this was his birthday, July 12th of 2020. Okay. That's when this was. And so I spent the entire day like going on walks with my mom, bouncing on a ball, trying to do nipple stimulation, I did a lot of the Miles circuit. I did, I think 3 or 4 times, which if you don't know what the Miles circuit is, is basically like if you are having inconsistent contractions or none at all, or your baby needs to be rotated. It's just a series of different positions that you sit in to try to resituate things.
Get the baby in the optimal position.
Yep. So you start by, I think, like dumping your baby out of your pelvis. So like you have your head down and then you elevate your bottom so that baby kind of, if baby is moved down into the pelvis, kind of gets pushed back up in a sense via gravity. And then you lay on, I want to say it's your right side, with like your leg as high as you can get it up on pillows.
Yeah, like a severe side-lying position.
Yes.
Yeah, or extreme, not severe.
Yeah. With like your knees close to your face as you can get and like propped up with pillows and stuff. And so I did that several times. And when that just really wasn't working, they were like, just go to bed. It's okay. Because at this point, it was getting pretty late.
Right. And you need to rest.
Yeah.
For what's about to come.
Actually, during the day, I totally forgot to mention this. During the day, at some point, I think it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so it was getting close to that 12-hour mark. They were like, why don't you come to the office and we'll just check and see if that was your water. And so I did one of their pH strip things, and it immediately turned that teal color or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, yep, okay, that's your water.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, options. This is when they gave me blue and black cohosh and something else. But off the top of my head, I can't remember what the other one was. Okay. And so I had to take blue and black cohosh. I had to take it at certain intervals. And then the third one, which was like the blue and black cohosh, I think was just little pills that I had to take. But the other one was an actual, like I had to put it in water, mix it up and drink it. And it was foul.
Like a tincture.
Foul.
That's like the one that I had to take. It was like straight alcohol.
Oh, no, mine was like
just nasty.
Dirt and
oh, yeah. No, mine wasn't that bad.
So gross. No, it was bad.
Yuck.
And I think I got all the way up until I had like one more of each dose left that I needed to do. And I was just like, they were like, go to sleep. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to stay up until I have to take my next one because I think it was like 30 minutes out at this point. And I took the last dose and I ended up actually throwing up that nasty one. Oh. And I told them that. I was like, I threw it up. And they were like, it's okay. It was your last dose. As long as you got some of it down. Because I don't think I threw up immediately, but I threw up like not long after doing it. So like some of it probably got absorbed. You're probably okay.
Yeah.
They're like, just go to sleep now. So at the time I was still nursing my 2-year-old, my daughter, and she laid in my bed with me. And I was like, I'm going to just nurse her to sleep. But as soon as we laid down and I started nursing her, my contractions came fierce.
Yeah.
Like, I went from hardly any contractions at all to I'm going to shit bricks. This hurts so bad. I was so uncomfortable. I was like gripping my pillow and like...
oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
It was awful. I was so uncomfortable and I hated it. And so I actually had to get her to stop. I was like, I can't. I'm so sorry. I cannot.
Right.
And I ended up getting up and my legs started to shake. And Thomas is like, you okay? My mom was there at this time. I was like, I'm pretty sure like my contractions have actually started now. Like this feels real. So he brought me into the bathroom. I went pee. And I could not get off the toilet because my contractions were just come and come and come. My contractions were just coming. And they were so painful. 0 to 100. It was the worst.
Right.
And he was like, do you want to call the midwives? I was like, I don't know. Like, this hurts a lot, but it just came out of nowhere. Like,
right.
We haven't been having consistent contractions, so I don't feel like we're ready for that. And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to call them. So he called them. And they got me on the phone, and I was like, this hurts. I can't fucking move. My legs are shaking. And they were like, well, do you need us?
I hate that question because
I know.
In that moment, you're always like, well... I don't know.
And both Thomas and my mom were like,
that's how Michael was to me.
And I was like, yeah, I think I need you. And they were like, okay. we'll get our stuff and we'll head out here shortly. I said, okay. And they ended up getting there around 1:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I, at this point, had managed to get off the toilet and go into the living room. And I was sitting on my hands and knees with my arms on the couch. And my daughter was sitting on the couch. My mom was sitting on the floor next to me. And Thomas was like pushing on my back or sitting next to me and talking about stuff like that. We were trying to get through until they got here. And my daughter, again, 1:30 in the morning, was just like, you got it, Mom. No. And she was staying up with me. And every time I would have a contraction, you do those like low growl type things.
Well, you know I talk, girl.
Yeah. The first time I did one of those, my daughter was like, what are you doing?
Right. What are you doing now?
And my mom was like, she's doing the baby song. This is how you get the baby out. And she's like, oh, okay. And then every time I would do it, she'd be like, you're doing good, Mom. Sing that baby song. Aww. She's, remember, 2.5.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
So cute.
She would not go to sleep. No matter what. She wanted milk to go to sleep. Right. But, like, I could not.
Yeah. Oh,
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried again.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
It made it so much worse. And so the midwives eventually got there at 1:30. They have me lay on my back, and they're like, we're going to just check and see how far along you are. Because if this is hurting this bad, you've got to be, like, getting close. No.
Right.
No. 3 centimeters. I remember looking at them being like,
there's no way.
You lie.
Check again.
And I remember seeing the look on the midwife's face when she reached in, they do their new thing.
Right.
And she was like, she pulled out her finger and she's like, sweetie, you're only 3 centimeters. And I look at her and I can only imagine the disappointment on my face. And she was like, I know. Because I had this problem with Anna.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life.
Yep. You feel that way. You so feel that way. You're like, this literally is never going to end. This is my new life.
Yep. Because Anna's sucked.
Yeah.
I was having contractions for 22 hours total.
Right.
And I was like, if the next 22 hours are going to be like this, no, thank you.
Yeah. I'm out.
I was like, I've got to be further. Like, this hurts so bad.
Right.
And they were like, let's just get you back in a more comfortable position. And
nothing's comfortable at that point.
No. And so we kind of went back and forth on, like, I would be sitting and my midwife, my mom, and Thomas would kind of whatever on my back, because I have a picture of that. This is Thomas. This is the only picture I have from this entire labor.
Oh, that's right.
I had plans to record this one and everything, but it didn't work out.
You were in a lot of pain.
I was in a lot of pain, and it went by a lot faster than we were expecting. We were going to pull out the camera once I got into the pool.
Right.
That didn't happen.
But this helped you better prep for hers.
This did. Yes. It did. Anyways.
Still
salty about it. But it's the only picture I have, so, you got it. But so they kind of went back and forth doing that for me for quite a while. And then, and by quite a while, I guess not really that long. My mom eventually convinced Anna to leave and go to her house with her. My mom lived in the same complex as us, so they just walked over to her house. And Anna had never actually spent the night at her house before.
Oh, that's right.
We had tried on several occasions, but could not. She would not stay. She just screamed and screamed and screamed. She slept that night. It was also
she was tired enough.
1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So when they left, my midwives were like, why don't we bring you over to your bed? Because it hasn't been that long since they had checked me. And so I was probably 3-4 centimeters still. Or at least that's what we thought. I don't know how quickly things progressed, because we never checked me again up until it was time to push. So I don't know how quickly things moved. For all I know, I could have moved and I was already an 8. I don't know. And so they were like, why don't we go over to your bed and you can try to get some sleep in between contractions. When we did, we moved over to our bed. We laid on like a whole bunch of those giant puppy pads. And I laid on my left side with like 2 pillows between my legs, hiked up as high as they could go. One leg hiked up, the other one straight. And Thomas was sitting on the bed in front of me while the midwife was pushing my back, and then they would like swap. And we had a couch in our room, and so the midwives would sit on the couch while he was pushing my back. And I was trying to get some sleep. It didn't take too long for the contractions to become unbearable, to the point where I was like, you need to be pushing on my back the entire time, the contractions were like not stopping. Those of you that have given birth and have had this sensation, you know exactly what I'm going to say. So the midwives were like, why don't we go like top off the pool? Because we had already had the pool up at this point. So like, let's go top it off with some hot water and then you can climb it. Solid. So they go and do that. So both of them are out of the room. It's just me and Thomas. And a few minutes go by and I'm getting real uncomfortable.
Right.
And he's like, he would like let up on thinking that a contraction was over, and then it would immediately get worse. And I was like, no, yelling at him. I'm like, you have to keep pushing. And he's like, I have for like 10 minutes straight.
Oh yeah, Michael understands that feeling.
And I was like, he's coming. And I already knew that I was having a boy. I was like, he's coming. And he was like, you think so? And I was like, oh, I feel it.
You're like, don't question me right now.
I felt the fetal ejection reflex starting to take hold. It wasn't quite pushing yet, but it was like that step right before. And he like knew the midwife, so I was like, yes,
now.
So he goes out, goes and grabs them. They come back and they're like, are you ready? And I was like, my body's pushing. At this point, it was like 3:20 something in the morning.
Okay, so they've been there like 2 hours now. Just under 2 hours. And so they checked me and they were like, yep, you're 10 centimeters. You can go ahead and start pushing. And so they're like, you can go ahead and start pushing. So I was terrified because I was like, I don't want to push. I want to get in the pool. Right.
Because I was terrified to have a land birth because I'd only ever had the water birth and I liked how much the water had helped.
Right.
And they were like, I mean, we can try to get you there, but I don't think you're going to make it.
Yeah. You're already feeling that push.
Yep. And Thomas was like, I can carry you through the halls. It's okay.
Oh.
And the midwives were like, honey, you're going to have to stay here.
Yeah.
Because they didn't trust that I was going to make it.
Right.
And which knowing now, I probably wouldn't have because I had him like 2 minutes later.
We would have done it in the hallway.
Yeah. Probably.
It would have been even more uncomfortable.
Yep. And so I pushed him right out there on my bed. Not intentionally by any sense of the word, but that was exactly what happened. And I pulled him out. I actually did the entire part all by myself. My midwives helped with Anna's, but nobody helped me with this one. I was like doing the pressure, the counter pressure down there and stuff. I grabbed his arms and pulled him out all by myself.
Yeah.
I was pretty proud of myself.
You should be.
And the midwives were kind of just like, she's got it. She's
cool.
She's doing her thing. All right, cool. Sounds solid. And pulled him out, put him on my chest, and I was like, looking over at Thomas, I was like, I have a son.
Yeah.
Because I had kind of been in denial that he was a boy.
Right.
I did not want a boy, honestly. Right. Like, I had some major gender disappointment. I think that was more so because I was scared to have a boy because I didn't know a lot. I didn't grow up with boys. I grew up with a mom and a sister. Like, that's what I had. Yeah. And I already had a daughter, so I didn't know how to do a boy, so I was scared. And so at this moment, I was like, I have a son, and he's so beautiful. And I was so happy. I was so happy. And then, birth the placenta, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Very shortly after, I think like literally 10 minutes later, I got up and took a shower. And when I got out of the shower, they helped me get dressed. And I was just like up on my hands and knees watching them as they were like spreading out the placenta and measuring it and stuff. Thomas was holding them, and they're like, you're moving around a lot. Yeah. You should probably lay down. Yeah. I was like, I feel great. Yeah. I went on a euphoric high. Yeah. I didn't feel anything. Yeah. It was bizarre. Like, looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, why did they let me move so much?
What was I doing?
I was like totally fine. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna go pee. We're good.
Jesus. They let you shower by yourself?
My midwife stood next to me.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah. I remember being in the bathroom being in the shower, I'm just being like, squish, squish. Yep. Because you get jello.
Oh, yeah. Almost immediately. Or at least I do.
Yeah. And, me too, 100%. It's jello. And so, and then I held him and I nursed him, and it was great. Yeah. Honestly, it was so fast. Like, it was, I had a precipitous birth. Just in case I'm saying that wrong. Yeah. And it's basically I'm pretty sure the definition of it is having a labor an active labor that lasts shorter than, it's either 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. Which, yes. my entire labor, not counting like
your water breaking.
Not counting that, because that was almost 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Because that broke at 5:02.
Okay.
I think. And then I had him at 3:24.
I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, our stories, like Quincy's and Damon's, the times. Why did I not realize that till right this second?
I know.
What the hell?
In fact, your labor with Quincy was actually pretty similar just in general, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very similar. I have the times written on my phone. That's why I grabbed my phone.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, midwives got there at 1:25 a.m. Water broke in the tub at 2:30 a.m. because mine didn't break until I was in labor. And I had her at 2:54 a.m.
2:54.
And you had her at 3:54?
3:24.
3:24.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
really
funny.
close. That's
That's
weird.
really close, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to leave this here just in case I need notes.
Oh, yeah, because
My
you're about to tell
memory
your
shit.
story now,
Yeah.
too. So is mine. But yeah, he was beautiful. He was my smallest baby.
Yes.
Out of
he was
all three.
Teeny.
6 pounds, 2 ounces. Yeah, he was 6 pounds, 2 ounces. He was 19 inches long.
Okay.
Yeah, I went from like 0 to 100 so fast. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
And it was a shock to everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that Thomas decided to call them when he did, or else I don't know how that would have went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my birth with Damon. I was definitely really surprised at how quickly it went, and I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of leads us to yours.
Yes.
Because yours kind of has that similar vibe.
Yeah.
So go ahead and jump into yours.
Okay. So we decided to go with the student midwife that was with us for Maverick's birth. We just really jived well with her and really wanted her to be a part of my next birth.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, she had opened up her own midwifery called Rooted Midwifery.
Rooted, like
Rooted.
the tree?
Rooted.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Out of Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit of a drive for us, but it was worth it in the end. And yeah, my pregnancy with Quincy was way different than Maverick. I was a lot more in pain. I was a lot more sick. It was kind of a rough go. That's the pregnancy that I'm like, do I want more? Because Maverick's, I was like, oh yeah, I could have 50
a million
kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hers, I was like, I need to think about this. And she went. I had her at 41 weeks, and yeah, I was hoping I was gonna go early with her because of how much pain I was in. Yeah. Thankfully, though, her labor was not that long. So I had contractions for weeks prior, nothing consistent. And there was only one time that I thought, oh, am I in labor? Because I was walking and we have gates in our house, and I lifted up the gate to walk through, and I felt kind of like a weird pain and then kind of a little gush. And that reminded me of when I was bouncing on the ball, and I was like, did my water just kind of break?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was 38 or 39 weeks, somewhere around there. And I was like, that was kind of weird. And so I didn't text the midwife at first because I was like, well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit later I peed, and I was like, nothing else is coming out. Maybe that was just a weird fluke. I don't know. And then I started to get contractions that were kind of like every 20 minutes, but weren't regular or strong or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe I should text her. So I texted her, and she was like, next time text me immediately or call me. This is a phone call. And I was like, yeah, sorry about that.
Midwives can be brutal sometimes.
I know. She was like, damn it, Mandee. I think I just peed myself a little bit.
Oh, all right.
Because it continued then to happen until I actually went into labor. Just every once in a while, I would make a move wrong, and I would just have a little leak out.
Oh.
So it was
okay.
pads for the rest of that. TMI, sorry.
Hey, that's part of what all of this is about.
Yeah, that's true. And then as we got closer to labor, I I did definitely get to the point with this one where I was like, I want this baby out of me.
You also were pregnant longer this time.
Yeah. I was done.
I felt that.
I was done. It wasn't just I wanted her here. It was I wanted my body to not hurt anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When we got to the 40-week mark, my due date, and then I still didn't go, I think I cried. I think I cried on my due date because I was like, I'm just so done. I actually very much remember crying to Michael a lot that last week before because it was just like, I cannot do this anymore. It was starting to get claustrophobic in my own body, and I just wanted to like get out, and I couldn't, obviously. But the day I went into labor, I had been having contractions, like I said. They would come as close as every 15 minutes, and they would do that for about an hour or two, and then they would stop. But that morning I woke up, and the first contraction I had in bed, I was kind of like, that felt a little different. And then it kept coming every 15 minutes, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of used to this, whatever. Got up, I made pancakes for Maverick, and they never stopped from the time that I got up to the time that I was making breakfast. It was still about every 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, it's lasting a little longer than it has before. And I was like, it just feels different today. And Michael's like, well, should I go to work? Should I not? And I was like, just go. It's fine. And he actually ended up taking Maverick with him that day. And he was like, you just rest. Like, you know, you're close.
For context.
You're very pregnant.
Michael works for family, so.
Yeah, he's able to bring his kids.
I know that there's got to be people out there who were just like, he took his kid to work.
Wait, yeah, he just made that decision? Yeah. No. He's thankfully able to do that. And so I was just resting on the couch, and they still kept coming. So then I would get up and I'd jump on the ball a little bit. I think I even went for a walk because I was just thinking, like, you know, they say move around, see if they stop, and they just weren't stopping. And I was texting you. And I texted the midwife and said, hey, just a heads up, they haven't stopped at all today. They aren't getting stronger at this point, and they're not getting any closer together. Because at times it would go like 30 minutes. I think at one point it was 45 minutes in between. But they weren't stopping like the prior days.
It's funny. I remember texting you being like, do you have another one?
Yes. Yeah. And then.
Because I was helping you track it.
Exactly. Because I think about 6 p.m., if I'm remembering correctly, that's when they started to come like every 10 minutes.
I'm pretty sure that was around the time where I was like, you're going to have this baby like tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
I was calling it.
And I was thinking that too. I was like, okay, this has to be at least something. I think because with Maverick, my water broke before I went into labor. I think I was just waiting for that to happen. But things did feel different. I will say that. I think probably around 8 or 9. I think it was like 8:30. I was like, okay, let's get Maverick to bed. Let's have your grandma get the dogs just to be safe. And Maverick thankfully went to sleep just fine. I let the midwife know what was going on. The dogs got out of the house. My contractions were now about every still 7 to 10 minutes. And the midwife she suggested, wow, can't talk. She suggested to go take a hot shower. She was like, just take a hot shower for like no more than 10 minutes and just see how things go, and then just go lay down and relax. So I took the hot shower, got out, went down, and I was like, I'm going to read my book and lay down. The second I laid down, this reminds me of how you did with Anna, it was so intense, I could not lay down. I literally could not. And so I think I laid there for 2 minutes, got up, went out to the living room, and I was like, Michael, I can't sleep. And he's like, are you in labor? And I was like, I mean, I think so. Like, I think this is it. And he's like, okay. And then they just kept coming stronger and stronger and stronger. And I was like, okay, this is for sure it. So we called Stephanie, and she wanted to like hear me talk through a contraction to see if I could. And
it's funny, I've never had a midwife do that.
The whole time I was on the phone with her, didn't have one.
Of course not.
And she was like, okay, just, rest up it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And call me when they're getting closer and when you need me and when you can't talk through them. I said, okay. Oh, and it's important to note that we had called her on my phone. Okay, this is important.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned this part to you.
I'm not sure. I don't recognize this.
Okay. So then I was sitting on the recliner trying to read between contractions. And then it just got to a point where I remember I broke down to Michael and I was like, I totally understand why people get an epidural. I get it now because I was losing it. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like last time I got an epidural, I didn't make it this far. And I understood wanting the relief now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you got this. He talked to me. He was like, you're strong. You got this. We can do this. I had little affirmations up on our mirror that I was reading. And I was like, okay, I got this. And he's like, do you think it's time to call Stephanie? And I said, yeah, I think it's time. And he was like, okay. So he calls her on his phone. No answer. Calls her again. No answer. Calls her again. No answer. He's starting to panic. And I was like, well, I have one of her students, Becca. I had her number. And I was like, well, just call Becca. And he was like, okay. Because we were told if you can't get a hold of Stephanie, it was to call her husband. And then if you didn't get an answer from him, call Becca. We didn't get a call. We didn't answer. They didn't answer the phone for Michael. Mm-hmm. So we called Becca. Becca answers and she's like, hello. She's clearly tired. I think it's like midnight now. Uh-huh. And we're like, we're trying to get a hold of Stephanie. Mandee's like in labor. She wants you guys here. And she's like, oh, okay. I'll go get her. She lived like maybe 2 minutes away from her. Mm-hmm. So she goes and answers and Stephanie calls us and she's like, I'm so sorry. She's like, I had my, what is it called?
The do not disturb.
The do not disturb on, but I allowed Mandee's phone to go through.
You had the emergency bypass.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so she was thinking that we would call on my phone because we already had. Yeah. And she's like, but good job calling Becca. Everything's fine. I'm just so sorry. And I was like, oh, it's totally fine. Like we got a hold of Becca. It was, everything was fine.
Mm-hmm. I think eventually you probably would have tried on your phone.
Oh yeah, for sure. Michael was, because I was counting my contractions on my phone on the little counter thing. Mm-hmm. So then we call her. They're like, we're just grabbing our stuff. We're on our way. And they got there, I think, at 1:something, 1:20, 1:30. And I remember when they were walking in, I was mid-contraction, and I'm a loud laborer. I get a little animalistic.
Which, hey, I mean,
yeah,
it works like
I roar my babies out. Mm-hmm. And so when they walked through the door, I was mid-contraction, and I remember Stephanie, she was like, oh, I like what I hear. And so she came in. Oh, and my mom had got here at this point. We called her right at the same time that we called Stephanie because we wanted her there in case Maverick woke up.
Yeah. Reminds me of Ellie.
Yes.
I haven't got that. We haven't told that story yet.
It's weird because Ellie happened first. Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, they already know, but they don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were all there. She got there and she was like, would you like me to check you and see how far things are going? And I said, sure. So we laid on my couch. We had put puppy pads and then a twin, what is it called? Sheet.
Oh, okay.
The drawstring one over the couch. And so I laid down, she checked me and she was like, Mandee, I feel your water bag. She was like, it is in my hand right now. She said it was like a water balloon was just like plopped into her hand.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And I think I was 8 centimeters.
So you were far.
I was getting there. I was real close. And she's like, all right, well, we can get into the tub. Oh, she had us fill up the tub while she was on her way.
Gotcha.
But she told us not to get into the tub.
Do not get in yet.
Until she arrived. So then we got into the tub. I was laboring in there. And she was like, if you feel the urge to push, push. And I did a little bit. It wasn't strong until I got out of the tub. So I was kind of pushing in the tub. And then my water broke in the tub. And then I was still just I was getting super uncomfortable. I think I was going through transition because I got to a point where I literally was just saying over and over and over and over, I can't. I can't do this. I can't do this.
That's how you know baby's about to come, when mom can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And I didn't have that with Maverick because at that point I was already under an epidural.
Yeah.
And I just remember they were all like, Mandee, yes, you can. Like, you can do this. You are strong. And I kept reading my affirmations, and that really helped me. I always thought that was kind of BS. Oh my God. Like, actually reading the words that I had written. I think I have a picture, so I can post that here. I don't know what it just did something to me in the middle of labor. And I was like, I can do this. But I was saying, I can't. I was crying, and I was like, I think I told Michael, I was like, you have to do something. Somebody has to do something. Like, I just didn't know what was about to happen. And so Stephanie told me this afterwards because she didn't tell me in the middle of it. But she had checked me while I was in the tub, and she had thought she maybe felt a foot. Mm-hmm. And so she very calmly was like, Mandee, we're going to get out of the tub now. And we are going to make our way back over to the couch. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, because I felt like things weren't happening in the tub. So I was like, well, maybe she just wants me to change position. So we get out, and they're trying to get me to get onto the couch, but I just couldn't make it there. So I'm right in front of my couch.
I'm laughing internally because I've seen the video.
Yes.
So I know where you were.
And I really got the urge to push. So I was roaring. That is loud.
Insert audio here. Just kidding.
You guys don't want to hear that.
No.
And she felt again, and she was like, I feel fingers. And she was so excited, and I was just like, okay. And she's like, Mandee, feel your baby. And I could feel her head. I didn't feel her fingers, but I felt her head.
Mm-hmm. That's always the coolest thing.
It's so cool.
It really it's the best.
I feel like it like validates everything you've been doing. It does. You're like, oh my God, they're almost here.
I did that with all of my pregnancies, just held their head. Yep. And with all of them, I just like stroked the top of their head. And I was like, hi, baby.
Yep. I didn't do it as much with Maverick, but with her for sure. Mm-hmm. And
you were also in the hospital setting.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was trying to get the why can't I think of it? Doppler to check his heart rate, and I got another strong urge to push, and she's like, never mind. And so I started pushing again, and then she told me, she was like, Mandee, you need to put your leg up on this couch. We need to get this baby out now. And her whole voice changed, and I was like, this is serious.
Why did it change again? Like, what happened?
Because she felt, and the cord was wrapped around her neck twice, and the pulse of the cord was starting to slow way down.
Gotcha.
And so she was like, we need to get this baby out.
I remember
things are fine, but we need to
why.
get this baby out. Mm-hmm. And because I kept saying, I can't put my leg up because I was in so much pain and just so much Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, you have to. And when I heard her voice change, even in that state, I was like, I need to listen to this woman. This woman is telling me something serious.
Yeah.
So got my leg up there, pushed that baby out.
Almost fell.
Almost fell. Yeah. Almost slipped and fell. She's laughing. She's laughing because in the video of my labor, there's a part where they're like, you gotta put your leg up here. You gotta do this. You gotta push. And I was like, I'm slipping. I'm slipping.
I wish we could show it.
I know.
But you are butt naked.
Butt naked. But it was, it's so hard to labor standing up. At least for me it was. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't have any more strength. So I was like, I literally cannot hold myself up. I am about to slip and fall. And thankfully, Stephanie was like right below me. So I was holding onto her. Michael was holding me.
You had Michael like...
Oh, yeah. Michael, in the video, you can see his muscles are just like holding.
Oh, yes.
Thank God for my husband. And then she came out. And it was an incredible feeling. Mm-hmm. So I had that feeling with Maverick, but it was not nearly as strong as with Quincy.
Sorry. Oh. I was going to say, do you think that has to do with the epidural?
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm. Being able to feel your whole body and every ounce of everything is such a different feeling than just being able to feel a little bit.
It's funny because I've had 3 babies, but I've never not had a natural one. Or by natural, I mean unmedicated.
Right.
So I don't know what to, I have no comparison for it.
Yeah.
I've never, given birth not feeling any of it.
Yeah. Honestly, I told Michael, I said, it's kind of cool that I have both. Because I had I had a hard time getting over the fact that I did not have Maverick in a home setting or the birth center setting. But now I can look back on it and I'm like, wow, I love that I have that comparison. I love that I have that journey to look back on. But yeah, if I had to do it again, 100% home birth. It felt so empowering. There was that moment where I literally felt like my world was ending and I was about to die.
Yeah, you get to that point.
But
then baby's like right there.
It lasted, realistically, it probably lasted like 5 to 10 minutes. In the moment, it felt like it was lasting my whole life.
Oh, yeah. It feels never ending.
Yeah, but it was incredible. And then I just, I was holding her and everything. And then they got me propped up back on the couch. And I remember my stomach was hurting so, so, so bad. And Maverick woke up at this point. He came out. He got to meet his sister. I might be able to insert a picture of that. I can just blur their faces. And he just, it was, what time was she born? 2:34 in the morning?
Okay.
Something like that.
A few hours later.
Yeah. And he was just like amazed. We had been talking about her this whole time and now it's like she was here. But yeah, so my stomach was hurting really bad and he kept trying to like come on top of me to give me a hug. And I was like, you can't touch my stomach. You can't touch my stomach. And I kept feeling like I was bleeding too much. And I kept telling Stephanie, I was like, I think I'm just bleeding. And she was like, it's really not that bad. Like, I mean, it's an expected amount. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, would you like to go take a shower and get cleaned up while Michael holds the baby? And I was like, that sounds amazing. So the second I stood up, I realized, oh, I have to pee. And I'm like, I'm going to pee myself. And so they're like both on either side of me and I'm like trying not to pee down the hallway. And we get there and I pee on the toilet. Immediately my stomach stops hurting. My bladder was so full.
Oh.
So full. And I didn't realize that's what was happening. And I peed for so long.
The never ending pee that you're just like, is it gonna stop?
Because after that, I really didn't have that many pain. I had like a little bit of cramping when she would nurse, but
just like normal,
just normal stuff. Yeah. And then I got to take a shower and then I just got to get in my cozy jammies that I had at home and just go back on the couch and spend time with my babies and my husband. And oh my gosh, I know home birth is scary sometimes, but I don't want to get emotional right now, but it was the most incredible feeling to be able to have my baby at home and to be able to feel everything and just know that my body did that.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. It was
you're making me cry.
Incredible. Sorry. I didn't think I was going to cry, but holy moly, like, it's an incredible feeling. And I wish that every woman could feel that. And I know it's not able for everyone. Some people have medical issues that they just can't. But it was the most empowering I've ever felt in my entire life. Like, I did that, Yeah,
you did that.
I did that. I mean, I felt that way with Maverick, but not as much. Way more intense with Quincy.
Yeah, I felt that way more with Damon than I did with Anna because Damon was at home in our bed.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Something about, and now every day when I'm in my living room, I'm like, I birthed that baby right there. And that's cool. That's a cool really feeling. Cool. Makes me never want to get rid of this house, but that's a cool feeling. So yeah, it was an intense ride, but I loved it. And Michael, he was like, wow.
It's crazy to see it.
Yeah. And he's like, I'd 100% do that again. Like, he loved it too.
He doesn't push the baby out.
He didn't push the baby out. So and he asked me after I was done, he was like, so would you rather do it at the hospital or at home? And I was like, at home, 100%. And he's like, which labor did you prefer? And I said, well, I kind of like the slow progression a little bit. Not nearly as long.
I was going to say, it's kind of hard to, at least I would imagine it would be hard to decipher between which one you would prefer, because Maverick's was ridiculously long.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of hard to compare.
I would definitely choose Quincy's, I think, now that I've had time to really reflect on it, because I was having contractions all day. They just weren't bad. And then I didn't actually start until later.
Yeah. And I remember us having conversations prior to you having Quincy, because you were asking me what I preferred. If I preferred the slow progression that I had with Anna, or if I preferred the short progression that I had with Damon, because we were both pregnant at the same time.
Right, exactly.
Again, talking about which one I had hoped for the third, and you were like, "Oh, what do I prefer? What do I think that I want?"
Yeah.
I remember you asking my opinion a lot.
Yeah. And I didn't know. And even right after I had her, I was still kind of like, I don't know. But now for sure I would take hers. Like, yeah, it sucks, but it sucks for so little time.
Oh yeah.
And I enjoy labor. I enjoy labor. Was there that moment of, oh my God, I can't do this? Yes. But even looking back on that, like, I could do it.
Yeah.
I remember after I had her and I was sitting and we had cleaned up and everything, Stephanie came over to me and she was like, you did it. You did this. You got to have the birth you wanted. And I did.
And you did so good.
Yeah. I think it healed a lot of the trauma from Maverick's birth. So.
That's good.
Wow. Didn't think I was going to get emotional. Anyways. On to Ellie. Ugh, okay.
You okay?
Just got to dry my eyeballs.
I'm really proud of you.
Thanks. I'm really proud of myself.
You should be.
Yeah. Now talking about it, I want another baby.
I feel it.
Michael. I'm just kidding. Okay.
So chronologically, Ellie happened before Quincy.
Yes.
So there's probably going to be a couple references in here that I make that maybe sound a little weird with it being out of order.
Because I was pregnant while you were laboring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so during the time that I was having Ellie, and even during Damon too, you hadn't had Maverick.
Correct. Yeah.
But then during Ellie, you hadn't yet had Quincy, and you had only had the experience at the hospital.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with Ellie, I had always thought that I was like, oh, I'm just somebody who goes early.
I remember.
And I remember being like, at 38 weeks, I was like, all right, we're going to have baby within like the next 7 days. Those 7 days came and went.
You were so disappointed.
And so did the next 7. And I was mad.
I remember.
Genuinely mad. And it's like, it's irrational. Like thinking back on it now. But I was used to having, those shorter pregnancies and just naturally having them come sooner. Granted. I always make the joke, I'm like, well, nobody died during this one, so that's why.
If you guys haven't figured out, Kaylee uses humor to deal with trauma.
Yes. I had a grandparent die for my, just before I had Anna. I had a grandparent die, just before I had Damon. Granted, I wasn't close to that grandparent.
Right.
But
still.
Yep. Nobody in my family died we had a friend that died, I guess, during Ellie's. It wasn't my friend, it was Thomas's friend.
Okay.
But
still sorry.
it was cancer all 3 times, which is ridiculous.
Jeez.
Different cancers.
Oh my gosh.
I have a curse. I'm sorry.
Apparently.
Jeez. But no, it wasn't in our family though. So
right.
I guess you give and you take.
So you weren't as traumatized.
Yeah. Which is probably it. But so, my due date finally came, and you came over, and we were having dinner at my house, and I remember we were talking about how I was kind of getting some contractions. I was really frustrated, and I remember I had a contraction during dinner, and the way you looked at me, you were like,
"You're gonna have this baby tonight."
Yep. I remember very distinctly the moment where I think we both decided, okay, this baby's coming.
Yep.
And my contractions were just like off and on. They weren't like super consistent at all. Definitely not real contractions yet. But it was like we're gonna start chugging along.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah. And
it was kind of a repeat of Damon's in terms of, other than my water hadn't broken. But it was very similar in terms of how like nighttime went. I was trying to get the kids down, and like I wasn't really getting many contractions, and I was trying to do like the nipple stimulation because I was like, I felt that I was gonna have the baby that night.
Right.
And I get that feeling. I've had that feeling with all three of them where I'm like, I'm gonna have my baby.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not having contractions or anything, I just get this weird feeling I'm gonna have my baby within the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
I've got that with all of them. So I had it again. And I was like, I don't know when, but soon. And I remember I was texting you, and I remember it had gotten pretty late, and I don't know if you had gone to bed or what.
No, I stayed awake.
I think, yeah.
When I knew that you were in labor, because I was supposed to be on standby for Damon to come pick up Damon and Anna if she needed it, and just have them at my house while you labored.
Yep.
That was the plan.
Because with Damon's, I didn't think I did say it. Anna was there. My mom ended up taking her.
Yes.
I really wanted Anna to be a part of this labor, but she ended up going to bed.
Yeah.
And
she didn't wake back up.
She didn't. No. And
she didn't wake back up that night. She did wake. Anna is alive and well. God, that sounded bad.
It kind of is. It's all good. Oh gosh.
Sorry.
Oh goodness. Anyways, I wanted her to be a part of it, and Damon, on the other hand, though, was unintentionally. He was the one who didn't want to go to sleep.
Nope.
And no matter what I did, he would not go to sleep. And then like 10, 11 o'clock rolled around, and I started having some more contractions. These ones started to get a little bit more regular, but weren't at the 511 or whatever it's supposed to be. Yeah. I don't know if I ever really got to that point, except for when my midwife got there, and she was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I got there until the midwife showed up.
Yeah, which makes that span very small.
Yeah.
And I think it was around... 2:08 she was born.
Okay.
So at like 10 o'clock-ish, I remember kind of getting that feeling of, here's these contractions are real. And I remember sitting on the toilet in our bathroom in our room. And that was when I think that I got like the first real contraction, that I felt the contractions shift. And I remember I was texting you about it. And so I stayed and I had some contractions there. And I went to the living room once I was finally able to convince myself to get up, because for whatever reason, contractions on the toilet hurt so much more.
They do.
I don't know what it is.
They don't call it the dilation station for nothing.
I know. Literally. Ugh. But they hurt so bad. And I made my way out to the living room. Damon was still awake.
Yes.
I think I was sitting on like a birthing wall a little bit, but that was hurting a lot. And so I was kind of kneeling in front of the couch, and Damon actually was sitting in front of me. I do have a video of that I think I can show.
Okay.
Because I'm not naked.
Perfect.
So if you're in the YouTube video, here you go. If you are not in the YouTube video, I'm sorry. He was like petting my head every time I had a contraction, and I was texting you being like, he's still awake, and I'm having contractions, and you were like, do you want me to come over? And I think...
because you were worried that if I just showed up and grabbed him that he would freak out.
Yeah, and so you and I were kind of going back and forth about that for a little while. I was like, no, it's fine. It's okay. He'll fall asleep eventually. And then he didn't. And then it was after 11 o'clock, somewhere around that time, when I was like, all right, please come over.
Yeah.
I think the original plan was for you to just come over until he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Was the original thought. That's not what happened.
Or just sit with him in like your room or something. But he was on you like a monkey.
It was insane. And you got there and he wanted to be on me. He was not quite 2 yet. Or not quite 1. No.
Right before 2.
Not quite 2.
Yeah.
I didn't have him that. I didn't get pregnant that soon. Not quite 2 yet. It was about a month away from being 2. And he would be like sitting on me, or like, because he was on my lap. He ended up falling asleep on my lap. And oh God, those contractions were hard. Those were brutal contractions.
Because you couldn't brace yourself or move. You were just holding him.
I was just holding him.
And I remember I was like half holding him because you like had to lean and he was like falling. And I'm like, I'm trying to assist you.
Oh. Those contractions hurt so bad. Like, I can imagine. I remember feeling it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, they didn't look fun.
Because, like, contractions, you can kind of get through them as long as you're comfortable. But if you are uncomfortable or stuck in a position you don't want to be in, then they are just the worst.
10 times worse. Yep.
Eventually, he fell asleep, and I was able to shift him onto the couch, where he then stayed.
Yes, the whole labor.
The entire thing.
About 2 feet away from you.
Yeah, literally.
Thankfully, you were a quiet laborer.
Yeah, I'm not too loud.
You're not too loud.
I think I got progressively louder with each, but still overall relatively quiet.
Yeah.
And so you were there, you were sitting on the couch, and my midwife was on her way, I think, at this point. Because I think she got there.
No, she was there when I got there.
She was there when you got there.
She was waiting for her assistant, though.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she got there much before you, though. She'd
Right.
only been there a little bit.
Yep.
And I remember when she first got there, she had, okay, so funny story, really quick, kind of tracking off a little bit. I was not the only one in their practice who was in labor.
Oh, that's right.
There were, I think, 3 other people in their practice currently in labor.
That's right.
And she was the only midwife not working. And she was almost going to go to one that was like an hour south of us.
That's right.
But she was like, I think Kaylee's going to go into labor, so I'm going to stay. And thank God she did,
Thank
or else
God.
I would be very much SOL.
Yeah, you would have either had to
I don't know what I would have done.
do it yourself or go to a hospital or...
Because they have like, I think there's 5 midwives and 2 students. So
right.
realistically, that should be plenty.
You would think.
Yeah. Not that night, apparently.
That was always my worry with having a midwife. Never happened to me, but it sure almost happened to you.
Yeah. I've only ever had pairs of 2. And so this was the one that had the most people in their practice.
Yeah.
And yet this was the one that I almost
Probably
didn't
because
have
they
one.
take so many people.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went on time, actually.
Not for you.
Not for me. For me, it was like late, but
Yeah.
on time. Right on time.
Right.
And yet everybody else was like, I'm going to go early or late. Here we go.
Yep.
And I remember her telling me that, and I was the last one of that night to go into labor. And I remember we made the joke where we're like, it's a race.
Right. Weren't you the first one done?
I was
too?
the first one done. Last one to call, first one to birth. It was funny.
Yep.
And we made that joke a couple times throughout the night. And after you had gotten there, and my midwife was like, are you going to get in the tub? And I was like, well, do you think it's time? And she's like, well, listening to your contractions, I'd say you're pretty safe to get in.
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you want me to check you or do you want to wait? And I remember being like, let's just wait. Because
Yeah.
I knew how I had been previously about like, oh, you're only going to be like 3 centimeters.
Right. It messes with you.
It does. It really messes with you.
If you're not progressed, you're like, no.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so she actually never checked me that entire time.
Yeah.
Because it just went
Yeah, it did.
real fast.
I remember she was like, go sit on the toilet for 2 or 3 contractions and then come get in the tub.
Yep. And then so I did that. We got in the tub and then it felt so much better in the tub. And I kind of went into a variety of positions, being like on my hands and knees or being like kind of leaned back, just like I was with Anna. I actually probably can insert a couple pictures from hers, from not Anna's, Ellie's.
Right.
So if I can, I will. And so I remember we were joking around about like, well, what time do you think? And we were all trying to like guess about what time we thought that I was going to go into labor, because at this, or not go into labor, but have her, because at this point it was the day after my due date. So she was born, 40 plus 1. And we all were like, maybe within like an hour, just over an hour. I think it was literally just over an hour.
I think so.
Because I think it was right around 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock that we were guessing.
Yeah. Well, I think I guessed 2 o'clock. And you were like, it better not be.
I think you guessed 3.
Or 3. Maybe it was 3. Yeah.
And I was like, no, I want to be done within an hour.
Yeah.
I was giving you a due date.
Yeah.
A due time.
Yes.
That's what I was saying to myself. I was like, you're getting out.
Yeah.
And so I labored in there, and I had like ice chips that my midwife's assistant, it was her daughter.
Right.
There wasn't an assistant available.
That was the assistant.
Yeah. Her daughter had been working with her for a while, and she was kind of unofficially part of the practice. She wasn't like an actual midwife.
Right.
And she was just taking notes. And she was kind of there to like go grab a towel or grab me ice or, whatever. And so she had brought me a thing of ice chips that I was nibbling on. And Thomas was like behind me with like the wet towel on my forehead and my shoulders. And
you have pictures of that too?
I do. I have some pictures of that. And I remember it started to get real painful very, very quickly. And I was like, okay, this is not working for me. And then my midwife, I think she could tell that I was unintentionally pushing. I wasn't sure if I was pushing or not. And she's like, you need to move.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think I was sitting real weird. And she was like, that's not going to be good. Yeah. So she had me move and adjust my like legs so that there was more, it was like my hips were open more. And it went very quickly after that. She did like a couple of like the Doppler things and then was like, okay, yeah, you can start pushing.
She was so calm.
She was so calm. I love her. And pretty sure she was just really chill and was just kind of hands off. I had it. I was doing good.
Yeah.
Thomas was behind me, like rubbing my neck and like whispering like, you can do this. And then I remember calling you over. I was like, Mandee, do you want to watch?
Right.
And you were like, hell yeah.
Because I was just sitting with Damon. I was like, I'm going to let you do your thing. And you're like, do you want to come over and see? And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah. And then you came around to the side and I just pushed her out.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast. Yeah. It didn't last very long. I think I pushed her out in less than a minute.
Yeah. Because right before she came out, you were like, my water broke.
Yeah. I remember. My water broke.
The midwife was just like, yep, it did.
Yep.
And you were
so
like,
chill.
Yeah, it was definitely my water. She's like, yep, it was.
Liz is so chill.
She was very, very calm. And then it was just head. And then I think like maybe one contraction more. And then it was body.
Out. And then I had her.
Yep.
And I remember being like, oh my God.
Yep.
I kind of went into like, I don't know. Not panic.
You go into like,
I don't know how to describe it. I had the same thing with Damon. I didn't have it with Anna, but I did with Damon and Ellie. Just that like, oh my God.
It's almost like you just now fully came to terms with you were pregnant with a baby.
Yeah, it's like it all hits you at once.
Yeah.
Every single emotion that you had during that entire pregnancy, and the fact that like there's another child here now.
Yeah.
You have to parent this child, like everything.
Yeah. It's
comes
a
all at
weird
once.
feeling.
It is so crazy.
It's a cool feeling. It's like outer body experience almost.
It really is.
Yeah.
Was that the first birth that you got to see in person? Or have you seen more?
I think that was definitely the first home birth. I think I have seen one in the hospital.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But so that was cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
And I think you went home not long after that. I think
like
once I got like
hour
settled
after,
on.
yeah, once you were settled in the couch, I was like, I'm gonna let you guys have your time.
Yep.
Because the whole time I was like, I don't want to be intrusive at all.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I was like,
you were like,
be here,
I'm all
fine.
for it. Yeah. But I was like, I don't want to be intrusive. I don't want her to look back on this and be like, oh, I wish that it was just me and Thomas. And so I was like, I'm going to keep a back seat until she tells me to come forward.
It's actually like a really happy memory knowing that you got to be there for me. I don't know why. I really loved that it was just me and Thomas for both Anna and Damon. But it was just something special having you there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was
glad you got
cool
to be
to
there.
see you do that and be a badass woman and birth your baby. It's a cool experience. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really special having you there.
Yeah,
And I'm really glad you got to be there.
I really enjoyed being there. I think it was cool. I always knew that you were, a strong woman. But then to see, like, I don't know. It's just, when they, like, say you need to uplift women, like, that was a really cool moment. To just see you be that strong woman that I know you are, you know?
Yeah, it's different to hear it, different to see it. Kind of one thing.
Definitely.
So that was our labor experiences.
Yes.
I obviously can't compare to having a hospital birth.
Right.
And you've already kind of said that you would prefer the home birth.
Yeah.
We've had a range of experiences between
The 5 kids.
between both of us.
Yeah.
And so would you say you'd like to have more?
Yeah.
Me too.
I still think I want 2 more. I just want to
Same.
wait a little bit before I have the
I think I
next
want
2.
1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
Am I crazy for wanting 4 or 5 kids?
Possibly.
Probably. Am I going to do it anyways? Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Well, this was a really fun episode.
It was.
We got emotional.
Yes.
I don't know. I love talking about this stuff.
Oh, me too.
It makes me so happy.
Me too.
But alas, we are very far.
This might be a long episode.
Yes. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm looking at the recording right now and I can see we have almost 3 hours worth of footage that we now have to sort through. So
We'll condense that
we'll
for you
see
guys.
how long this ends up being.
All right. Well, like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Tell us your birth stories. We love to hear them.
Yes. Oh, please.
Yeah. Send them in. And
Yes.
we will see you guys next week.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye.